Hi, doctor. Are you currently seeing patients with shoulder pain? What about frozen shoulder? What if I could teach you a neurological treatment system in which you could literally take a person from frozen shoulder to a full range of motion in 2 visits? And this system is so powerful that we guarantee results in 2 visits, or we don't accept the patient for care. Hi, I'm Dr. Andy Barlow. I'm a board certified chiropractic neurologist. I also carry a fellowship in functional neurology, and every Wednesday night at 5 p.m., I'm giving a 1-hour seminar free of charge. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help your community. I'm here to help our profession go to the next level. I personally look forward to seeing you every Wednesday night. I want to completely change your life and change your community's life. And I can help you do that because I've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of doctors from Europe to Canada, all the way to New Zealand with these types of health issues, okay? So I look forward to seeing you Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Central on the webinar. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on the internet.
Probably have an old school website, just like this old school Voltron from the 80s. Here's the thing, video websites are dominating the entire internet right now, but only 3% of people have video websites. What is a video website? When there's continual movement. The beautiful thing about continual movement is that when you have movement, it keeps the buyer wanting to stay on the website. Here's the beautiful thing. If you look here at Dr. Mo's website, he is dominating. His website's everywhere. Not only that, but he's omnipresent. It's about time to get you out of the static world websites where they don't move, doesn't do anything for you, but come into the video websites where we dominate Google and get you omnipresent. It's time to step in the future of marketing. Make sure you click on the button at the bottom for a consultation, and we'll get back with you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Anthony with Edge on Regenerative Medicine Show. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching the show. As you know, we bring you the best of doctors in their areas and in their niches. I'm excited today. We have a special guest, Dr. Dorian Quinn, and I'm excited. Thank you so much, Dr. Dorian, for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Awesome. And just to let you all know, you can find Dr. Dorian at simplewellnessclinic.com, simplewellnessclinic.com. He's in the West Linn area of Oregon, in the West Linn, Oregon area, which is probably, I would say, about 10 minutes from inner Portland. And today we have a great topic we're going to be talking about. Of course, we'd love to talk about pain, but let's talk about solution. Or if we're going to talk about pain, let's talk about where is the root coming from. So today is going to be why I have chronic pain and how to get back to pain free. So again, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Dorian. And before we start and go into this topic, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into what you do and helping people get out of pain.
Okay. So I've been practicing since 1984, and I am traditionally trained as a chiropractor and an acupuncturist. And I actually retired from chiropractic about 4 years ago and focused on what I call holistic medicine. I treat with Oriental medicine, and one of the main reasons I do that is when if I say I do acupuncture, which I'm licensed to do, people think, oh, I'm going to put needles in you. Or if I was to say, well, I'm going to treat you as a chiropractor, they're going to say, oh, you're going to probably crack my back or snap my neck or something like that. And it's what I call monomodal therapies. And we're kind of, those professions help a lot of people. However, I have expanded to the point where we want to look at a lot of different reasons why a person has a problem. So the umbrella of Oriental medicine or traditional Chinese medicine really looks at a lot of those things all at the same time. And that's why we look at the chronic pain that way, because people come in to see us basically for two reasons. They come in for chronic pain and they come in for weight loss.
Oh, wow.
And what we see every day is that not everybody who has chronic pain needs to lose weight. However, almost everyone who comes to see us for weight loss has chronic pain. And so our job, when people ask, well, what do you do? I say, well, we help people restore their health. And they go, okay, then we want to talk about, well, what does health really mean anyway? And really what the definition is, it is not the lack of symptoms. Oh, I don't have any symptoms, therefore I'm healthy. Usually by the time people come to see us, they've had some chronic pain or weight issues or things like that, or insomnia, or there's a lot of things. So I go, well, we want to address why you have that. And so that goes into a whole myriad of how you look at somebody. There's a thing in this kind of healthcare, it's called functional medicine. And there's a thing called the blinky light. So what's the blinky light? Well, my knee hurts, my back hurts, I have headaches or things like that, which are very important to look at and determine what the cause is. But usually it's not because, unless you just got in a car accident or fell down, it's usually much more insidious than that. People get chronic pain due to underlying problems that have been developing for a long, long time. Same reason they cannot lose weight. People can lose it, but they really have a hard time keeping it off. So we want to look at really three main areas of why they have chronic pain. And our ultimate goal is, and this shocks people when I tell them this, it's really not that hard to get people out of pain. Really? Yeah, when you address certain aspects of the anatomy, like say a knee, and you release the tension in there and you do some mobilization to move it around and get the blood flowing, they go, wow, that's amazing. My knee hasn't felt this good in years. That's great. And we do want to, it's super important to address the chronic pain because that chronic pain drives your nervous system to be hypersensitive, if you will. So pain really is about being hypersensitive. And the interesting thing about pain is that pain and everything else in your body is based on receptors in your body. So if you have knee pain, those receptors are telling your brain there's pain there. And then your brain is going to go, oh yeah, so let's take care of that. We're going to alter our gait. We're going to change how we walk, how we sleep, all these things. And that starts to throw off other things. So when people say, I have knee pain, okay, well, why is it knee pain? Or I'll give you even another example. Foot numbness and tingling.
Right.
I have foot numbness and tingling. Why would that be? Well, this is where we have to really put on our clinician's hat and say, well, if it's in both feet, it can be from a lower back issue, like a disc or a nerve root. And if they don't have that, then it's usually a metabolic situation like diabetes, chronic blood sugar, things like that. So we want to start with the basics. Okay, you have both sides or is it one side? Well, if it's one side, is your foot numb and tingly because you have a problem in your foot, in your ankle, in your knee, in your hip, in your low back? Because if we just focus on the blinky light, I have numbness and tingling, and just treat that, which we can do very effectively, but don't do the work to what we call reverse engineer why you're having that issue, then your results aren't going to be long term. And that's what people want, and that's what people need. We got to teach them what's your trigger that's causing this. Let's determine what it is, show you where it's coming from, so ultimately you can get out of pain or or greatly reduce it so that it's not affecting your life in a negative way, and put you back in control. And so that's the big picture of that. So it breaks down to certain things. I mentioned a moment ago blood sugar. So, and I also said that pain and dysfunction is receptor driven. That means that your body's giving your brain information and your brain decides what to do with that. Well, if you have chronically high blood sugar, that causes inflammation that ultimately affects your brain. Here's what's really cool is that having pain really is not normal. We have 7 levels in our nervous system, starting in our brain all the way down to the receptors, that inhibits pain. Inhibits pain. We're not supposed to be in pain. So we got to figure out, is it at the receptor? And it goes all the way up to the spine, to the joints, to the cerebellum, to the brain, all those things we sort out so that we know, why is this person having pain? Well, chronic high blood sugar causes inflammation, which affects your brain and the processing centers, like in your cerebellum. So just as simple as reducing blood sugar, high blood sugar, and why that's happening, a person's pain will start to go down. And then if you do therapy that reduces your pain, now we're shutting down that cycle so they can actually start to get better. So blood sugar is super, super important. So what are some of the things that we can do to control blood sugar? Well, one of the things is we can, we teach people how to eat in a certain sequence of eating their food so it doesn't spike their blood sugar. So that doesn't mean that you can't have some carbs. But if you eat your food in a certain sequence, you can enjoy the carbs, but you're not going to get the blood sugar spike. And there are people how to do that. The other thing we have to look at, so if someone comes in, I just talked to a lady today, she's in her 70s. We see a lot of people in their 60s and 70s. And these are people who are retired or getting ready to retire, semi-retired, and they still want to be active. So she called us, she has referral, she goes, I got this shoulder pain that's just killing me. She plays pickleball, which is kind of like tennis and badminton combined. She goes, I really want to keep doing that. So I said to her, okay, we'll take a look at your shoulder, but I also want you to bring in your lab work, your blood work. And she was a little surprised. Well, why is that? I said, because if you have chronically high blood sugar, if you have anemia, if you have any inflammatory markers, if you have any autoimmune markers, your body's not going to have the energy to make these corrections, and you don't have the energy to actually heal. We can get you out of pain, but the point is not that. The point is to make it last longer. So let's look at these other things that are contributing to it, teach you how to balance that out on your own. Therefore, you don't need us. And our ultimate goal is teach you, we call it catch and release. Teach you how to do it so that you don't need to be dependent on us or a clinic or a doctor or medications or something like that. So we're looking at anemia, we're looking at oxygenation. So your brain and your tissue needs glucose, it needs oxygen, and if you don't have those things, that increases inflammation. So if you have chronic anemia, it doesn't matter how good of therapies we do, you're not going to get that well. If you have chronic blood sugar, you're not going to. If you have autoimmune situations, you have inflammatory markers, we need to address that so that we can change that through things that we do so that you actually start to get better and stay better. So the other thing is stimulation. So the brain needs oxygen, it needs glucose, and it needs stimulation. Well, what does stimulation mean? Well, it means movement. So how many people go to their office, they're having their cup of coffee, they're having their donut because, that's their habit. and then they're sitting at their desk all day.
Mhm.
And so it spikes the blood sugar, the caffeine wears off. They know they need to exercise. They want to exercise, but by the end of the day, they're just too darn tired, right? So they get stuck in this rut. So we show them, okay, well, you don't have to go to the gym. In fact, I have people come in who can barely walk. I go, we don't want you to go to the gym. We don't even want you to exercise right now. And they're all kind of shocked. I go, yeah, it's not about going to the gym and exercising. It's about, why don't we just first focus on, let's have you stand up and sit down. Stand up and sit down. Because they have really bad knee pain or back pain or hip pain. So let's get you to the point where you can do that. Now let's have you walk around your house more. Instead of having your spouse, go get the mail, why don't you go outside now and get to the mail? Oh, now you can do that. Well, let's go to the end of the block. Let's go 2 blocks. Let's go 5 blocks and meet them where they are so they're getting that stimulation, because your brain needs movement. So we look at that. So if someone comes in and they can't lose weight, we go, well, let's look at your oxygen. Let's look at your anemia. Let's look at your blood sugar. Let's look at your movement. Let's look at other things. Do you have your gallbladder? Has that been taken out? Well, yes, it has. Well, if they have their gallbladder out, that means they have a lower ability to process fats. Well, you need fats. Fats act as brain food. You know that cholesterol, which is made in your liver, is an antioxidant to your brain. It calms inflammation down in your brain. It helps you digest your fats. So fats provide more energy than sugar. So now if you can digest your fats, you need less sugar, you have less cravings. Now it's easier to follow a healthier diet. So this is what we call connecting the dots for people. And they're going, oh, no one's ever told me that before. Well, that's okay, because we're not going to focus on the blinky light. We're going to focus on all the things that's contributing to having this problem. Your weight is actually there to protect you. I go, really? I go, well, I don't want this weight. I don't like being 20 pounds or 40 pounds or 60 or whatever, overweight. I go, I know. But your ancestors, our ancestors, our cavemen and our cave women, when their job was they didn't have a stable food supply. They depended on the seasons. They depended on things like that. So if they can't hunt and gather and they're hurt, their brain, which is the same brain we have, is going to store every single calorie they have, because their brain says, hey, I can't go out. I'm in pain. And what usually happened to them? Well, they probably, they got hurt. They had a broken bone or something like that, because they're not moving around. So nowadays, there's no shortage of food. It's more food than we need. So now their brain's saying, well, I have chronic pain. I have all these things that promote inflammation in my body, so I'm just going to store fat. And then they get caught up in this loop. So we just reverse engineer it, and then they start losing weight. Now, what's really cool is that extra body fat is actually pro-inflammatory. So that's part of the problem. So we get them into burning the excess body fat. They start losing the weight, not muscle, not water, because that doesn't count. It has to be body fat. So we have ways to track that. How much body fat do you have? How much have you lost? What is your goal? How do you want to get to? Because it's not about the number of pounds. It's where the pounds are coming from, right? Because people are going to get to a certain point. They're going to lose that weight. And I said, you actually may start going up in weight now your goal weight, because now you have the energy to start exercising. Well, muscle weighs more than fat. So that's okay. Don't worry about the number. Worry about where the number's coming from. Okay. So again, it has to be based on where they're coming from. So we're going to have them bring in their lab works. We're going to have them bring in their MRIs, their X-rays, and things like that. We want to rule out: is it a spine? Is it the joint? Is it the receptor? Is it inflammation in the brain? The other thing is there's a thing called a gut-brain connection. A lot of you have probably heard about that. That's where our immune system is. Why is that important? Because if we're eating foods that don't agree with us, that causes inflammation in our brain. Here's something interesting. So Well, we have pain and it interrupts how our processors are. Processors get mixed up in there. That can no longer control the lining inside our gut, and that's called leaky gut. Leaky gut allows undigested food to go into the bloodstream. That promotes inflammation also. And then they start having autoimmune orders. So we have to look at the gut. We have to look at what they're eating. So a lot of times we'll have people do food sensitivity testing that's based on DNA testing. Well, let's see what foods are best for you as an individual so that you can eat that so we can start to heal your leaky gut. Because your leaky gut, if your gut's on fire, your brain's on fire. If your brain's on fire, you can't manage the chronic pain. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. So we look at all of that. Yeah, but what about my shoulder? Well, we're going to help with your shoulder, but let's look at all the other things that we're going to help let your shoulder stay good so you don't need us long term. So that's an overview. That's kind of the big picture and how we look at people, regardless of whether they're coming in for chronic pain, weight loss, whatever their thing is, right? And so the other thing that's really important is when people bring in their lab work, we have to look at, there's two different ways to look at lab work. There's called the functional range and the pathological range. The pathological range is what you get from your doctor's office. So if we're here in Portland, West Lynn, the people in this area are going to they all use that as the baseline. So whatever country, what part of the country that you live in, you're going to be compared to all the other people in that area. So now we look at the function. So that's the pathological range. So we see this all the time, especially with ladies that are having a hard time losing weight. Well, I had my labs done and they told me they're normal, but yet I have no energy. My hair is falling out. My eyebrows are going away. I'm having a hard time sleeping. All these things. They go, well, compared to all the other sick people out there, because who gets their labs work done? Sick people. Compared to all the other sick people, you're not as sick as they are. Therefore, you're in the normal range. What the functional range is what's ideal for your physiology. So, for example, we just saw this week. This was laughable. So they got their lab results back, and it said normal is 70 to 139. That's a big range, right? Well, functional range for blood sugar is 85 to 99. Above 99, you're insulin resistant. At 126, you're diabetic. So according to that, you could be a diabetic and you're normal. Well, that's high blood sugar. That's inflammation of the brain. I mean, so we have to look at it and go, well, this is where you are, and then this is where you want to go. And they're like, oh, and it's like a light goes off for them. And that's our job, is for them to have what we call an educational moment or an aha moment, like, oh, because now it's like, okay, because people tend to blame themselves, like, gee, I exercise, I try to eat right, but I can't lose weight or I can't get out of pain. Well, now you know why. We have to look at hydration also. We have to look at your mineralization. We have to look at all those things. And then when you dial it in for you as an individual, for food sensitivity and DNA testing, now they start having control. Because let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. For my food sensitivity, salmon came up positive for me. Like, that's a good food for me. Salmon's a health food, right? Essential fatty acids, lean and all that. Well, my wife, she can't stand salmon and never has. Well, we did her test. Guess what? It's not a good food for her. Instinctively, she knew I don't like that. So we said, well, you have to go on the testing that's right for you. There's a few things on there that I actually like that I found out that weren't that great for me, so I avoid them now. I love sea bass. P.F. Chang's has awesome sea bass, the way they cook it, but I don't do it anymore because I know my nervous system doesn't like it. Right?
What are the symptoms you notice when you say that your nervous system doesn't like it?
It can be things like when you wake up in the morning are you raring to go, or are you sluggish? Does it take a while for you to wake up? What's your mood like? Are you usually pretty even keeled, or do the littlest things set you off? When you eat, because your nervous system and your digestion are so connected, right? When you eat things, do you get bloated? Do you get constipation, diarrhea? Do you get pain in there? What's the quality of your sleep? Do you sleep all the way through the night, or do you wake up at most people, or a lot of people wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. In Chinese medicine, that's called liver time. Well, what's that mean? That means that their blood sugar goes down so much while they're sleeping that they actually wake up. A lot of people get up and eat something so they can go back to sleep. Well, your liver will dump sugar. Wow, we don't want that. Your liver will dump sugar to balance that out, but that wakes you up. So those are all signs that your nervous system isn't working properly, because your nervous system is the communication. It's the general manager. So we've got to make sure that all those things are addressed. Or fatigue level, So here's one. If somebody doesn't bring in their lab work, let's just say that, oh, I don't have any lab work. That's okay. We can get some information from you. So here's a real key one. When you're hungry, do you feel better after you eat, or do you feel tired after you eat? If you have low blood sugar, that's called hypoglycemia. You're going to feel better after you eat. If you feel sleepy after you eat, that indicates insulin resistance, which is the next step to diabetes. So just things like that will tell us. Or how do you feel after you eat a certain kind of food? Well, I can't eat cauliflower because I just blowed up like a puffer fish, or I can't eat whatever. That's a food sensitivity. Or they may have lack of digestive enzymes. Things like that. So why do people get anemia? Well, a lot of times with high blood sugar, chronically high blood sugar, because they're told, oh, you're normal because they're on the pathological. That high blood sugar actually causes inflammation in your body that affects your kidneys. Okay. Wow. So what happens to diabetics long term? If it's unmanaged well, what happens? They go on dialysis. See that all the time. So you can get that's why the lab work is really important, because we look at certain things in the labs. I go, look at this number here for your kidneys is too high. This other number here is for your kidneys. Well, why is that important? Because your kidneys release an enzyme that goes to your bone marrow that tells you to make blood cells. So if you have chronic blood sugar issues, you're probably going to be anemic. Well, if you're anemic, you can't carry oxygen, and you need oxygen, because remember we said oxygen, glucose, stimulation, right? So now, if they have, if they're anemic, because everything goes back to the blood, right? If you're anemic, you don't have a lot of energy. Well, if you don't have a lot of energy, what are you going to do? You're going to eat more sugar, because that gives you energy. So now it's a vicious cycle. So yeah, we got to work on that, and then start doing things to get more oxygen. Well, if you're anemic, you can't carry oxygen. If you can't, so what do your nerves need? If you ever saw somebody who's really sick, they'd be pale and blue lips. That's low oxygen. You can look at the nail beds. They should be pink. If they're white, or if people tend to have a fungus in the nail beds, that's lack of oxygen. So there's a lot of things that we can do to look at, which we do look at besides their labs. But that's really the key to getting people out of chronic pain. Now, as a disclaimer, we can get people out of pain, but we don't necessarily get people out of 100% pain 100% of the time. So if someone comes in and they're an 8 or a 9, let's say to their knee again, because a lot of people have knee pain. I go, okay, you're an 8 or a 9. And they say, and I ask them, what would it need to go down to for you to be happy as an end result? Because ultimately, they have to be satisfied with the results. It's all results driven. And they said, well, I don't want any pain. I go, well, I don't know if I can do that for you. So let's say that we can't get down to a 0. What would that what else would, well, I'd be happy with a 2 or 3. I go, well, that's probably more realistic because you may have some regeneration in there. So let's slow down the regeneration or get to the point where before you couldn't walk out to your mailbox, now you're going to Eagle Creek and hiking for 3 hours, and now it's just a little bit stiff. There's a big difference in that. They go, oh, I'd be happy with that. Because we got to manage expectations, right? Because we want to be realistic. I don't believe in miracles. If you follow, science and labs and stuff, you're going to get way better. But I'll tell them, I'm good, but I'm not that good.
So would you say that a lot of people that are coming to you, would you say it would mostly be for chronic pain or for more weight loss, or would you say about a 50-50?
I would say mostly pain.
Okay.
And then if they have weight issues, like I said, we need to address that too, because that's an underlying metabolic thing. I can do the treatment on you. We have great modalities in the office, but we want it to last. So whether it's your shoulder or your spine or your knee or tingling and numbness, we can address that, but let's look at these other things. So it's probably chronic pain, then they come in and then, yes, you have a weight issue. Do you want us to help you with that or not? And here's how I address that. I'll find all this stuff, and I always ask, do you want me to help you with that or not? And if they say yes, great. If they say, no, I just want you to help me with my knee pain right now, that's okay. Well, we'll do a really good job with that, but I tell them, we want to address these other things at some point for it to last as long as you want it to last. So it's always up to them long term.
So it's like you're basically saying, I can help you, but you also need to water it yourself. You got to water. Like I remember when I first was at went to your office, and you asked me if I had any pain. I said, I have a lot of pain right here in my middle back, and and you asked me a few other questions, and it was interesting. This is no joke, because I'm always working at home, I'm always staying active, but I think because I do a lot of looking down, so of course it's going to start to feel sore. And it's funny, I think I was at your office maybe 3 weeks ago, I'm guessing, and you were with me probably 3 minutes, and within like 3 minutes, my pain went away, and I'm still not in pain, but I know that there has to be stuff on am I eating right?
Yep.
Am I drinking a lot of fluids, water?
Mm-hmm.
Am I exercising? These are all things that we have to, like, you can help us, but we have to put feet to it, basically.
That's right. And I love outcomes like you have, because what that tells me is that you are essentially a healthy person, and that you don't have this underlying list of other metabolic conditions. And we love that. And people think we're superstars when that happens, right? So a lot of times when people come in and say, well, I have neck pain. And I said, okay, so let's look at your shoulders also, because your neck and shoulders, because we use our shoulders so much for so many things. We see so much. Hey, let's release these shoulders. Let's look at all the neurology and the vascular patterns and muscle tension patterns that can control your shoulders. We release them. They go, wow, my neck pain's gone. I go, you really had more of a shoulder problem than a neck problem. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't have one, but a lot of times that'll clear it up. And they go, oh, so now we've changed their direction of what they're looking at, but it's still going to go back to, well, you still have to, if you're like most of us at our desk and working a lot of hours, that still need to move. You still need to keep your blood sugar. The movement helps with oxygenation and detox and all that. So again, but I love the outcomes that you get, because, all right, here's a guy who's pretty healthy. It didn't take that much because if we just focused on the blinky light, like my pain here, and didn't do anything else, you may not have gotten better. So we didn't just work on that one spot. We worked on the things that contribute to the blinky light, as we call it, the neck pain, the mid-back pain, and so forth. So that's what keeps it fun for us, because it's like the detective work. Everybody is different. So the analogy that I like to use is when we're back in high school and you got the long row of lockers and everybody had that combination lock to get into your locker, right? Well, people are combination locked. You know, we all have the same set of numbers, whatever that is on there, 35 or 50 or whatever it is. But, and here's how I look at it. We could eventually figure out what the combination would be, but it would take us a long time, right? If we just kind of shotgunned it, well, let's just, see what happens if we just do that. But if we actually figure out what's going on with the person and you find out what their combination is, they open right up every time. If you know the combination, it goes really quick. So it's a sequence of things. With humans, and I tell people all the time, physiology is predictable. Oxygenation, glucose, inflammation, autoimmune, those things, you sort through those, and not everybody has it. So what does that person have? What is their history? And you figure out what their combination is, and you give it to them, they go, wow, this is okay. And I'm feeling better longer and longer, and eventually they don't need us anymore. So the combination is the key. So for you, which is so good, is you already had a lot of those numbers dialed in. You just need a little, we call that a tune-up. Some people come in, they need an overhaul.
But I think that I agree with what you're saying, but I think from what I'm learning as I'm getting older, 44 years young, is that we need to have tune-ups like our vehicle, every 33,000 miles, 5,000 miles.
Absolutely. We absolutely do.
And whether that's once a month or everyone's different. We don't know. I mean, I can take care of this vehicle here and this other person's not taking care of their vehicle. So it's just
that's right. That's right.
We need to not look. I always tell people stop looking at price because you're worth it. And especially when we start looking at stop looking at our wealth and we start looking at our health, we realize that we have it all. If we have our health, and if we don't have our health, we're going to lose all of our wealth. So you might as well just start focusing
absolutely
on your health right now, because wealth is something anybody can get. But when you're sick, sorry about your bad luck. Now I need help.
Yeah.
And like what you said, it's not just always one thing. It's not just one thing. It could be many things.
It is. True.
I mean, there's some people we'll just use an example. They'll use exosomes for something, and then that might not work with them, but then they'll try PRP, and then that might not work with them. Then they'll try a stem cell machine or whatever it may be.
Right.
Sometimes it's a little bit of everything, because our combinations are very different. We don't.
That's right.
I could say it's my back, but then it could be my knee.
Right. The tune-up analogy is really good because life happens, and we get people stable, and they come back and go, you know what, something happened to me. I got food poisoning. It really messed up my gut. And since then, I've been having headaches. Okay, well, let's get the inflammation down on that. And maybe there's some reflex pain now that's going up into there that they need some musculoskeletal work also, because it all goes back to the receptors in the muscles and the organs and everything else. And they all talk to each other. And it's the rare person that comes in and say, we're just going to do one thing on you. We do want to always reevaluate. And it's kind of like exercise or yoga. You go to a yoga session and you feel really good and you feel super lumber, and you go, okay, good, never have to do that again.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want, I don't want to say don't want, but don't realize that consistency is the key in everything. I don't care if you're trying to be consistent to get to where you want to be be a doctor, or the consistency to be a great, I don't care if it's a coffee maker, it doesn't matter, a barista. It
doesn't matter.
Where are you putting your heart is where your treasure's at.
Yep.
This here should be where your treasure's at, is taking care of your body, especially if you're married, because you and your spouse, you're one, you're not. The bottom line is somebody loves you.
Right.
Take care of yourself. It sounds very easy and simple, like a Hallmark card, but it really isn't. A lot of people need to hear this. And I loved what you were talking about the chronic pain. Not saying that I love chronic pain, but I love seeing many people that I've seen that have been in your office that are no longer in that pain. There are people right now that are in pain that do not need to be in pain. And I like what you said. You said, I could take away the pain. That's not a problem. But now I need your help, basically. I'm putting in layman terms. Now I need your help.
Right. It's like a coach, you know. Everybody comes in, they're an athlete in their own way. And the best coach basically inspires the athlete to get to their ultimate level. The coach isn't the athlete, it's the athlete. So they're giving them guidance, they're getting them feedback and helping them be their best version of themselves, to be a little cliche, but I believe that's true.
No, definitely. I agree 100%. And sometimes we just need that little push of encouragement. I mean, we all do, especially in interesting times that we live in. We need to be more encouraging. And sometimes you're the only light that person's going to see at that day.
Thank you.
And with what you do nothing but light. I call it healing hands. You're helping people, man. I mean, that's a huge thing. And speaking of helping people, people out there, I just want to say, if you have neck pain, back pain, I don't care if it's frozen shoulder, I don't care if you got a pinky toe pain. The bottom line, you want to call Dr. Dorian. I'm actually I'm a living proof of that. Like I said, I had really bad back pain. I've been in pain for, I would say, for a couple of years. And I saw him within 3 or 4 minutes. My pain was gone. Now, yes, my pain's gone, but now it's up to me. Am I staying hydrated?
That's right. Yep.
And I loved what he said. The blood work, guys, blood work's huge. A lot of people, when I went to get my blood work done recently, I was shocked. It said I needed more vitamin D. I was like, what? I'm like, I can give away sunshine. I was shocked, and so blood work's very vital. So what I want to encourage everyone out there in the Portland, Oregon area, Vancouver, Washington, Cascade Park, in the surrounding areas, we all know where Westland is by Portland. Give him a phone call. He'll help you. It's just a phone call away. And make sure, everyone, that we focus on our stinking thinking, because that's part of connected to our pain. Once we change our mindset, meaning changing our mindset, knowing, saying, I can get better. And then you give Dr. Dorian Quinn, and then you check out simplewellnessclinic.com. Give him a phone call. Everyone, thank you so much for being on, watching the show. Thank you, Dr. Dorian, for being on the show. Remember, everyone, sharing is caring. Why? Because one video like this can change one person's life. And here's the cool thing. Dr. Dorian's been changing people's lives for years now. Give him a phone call. I'm excited. We've hung out ourselves. We actually ate bread together almost a month ago. And I do not promote something that I do not believe in. And again, I want to say thank you, Dr. Dorian, for helping my back. And I'm sure if I have any other problems, I'll be right on over. So again, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, guys. My name's Holly. I've been working with Evelyn for about over a month now and have lost around 20 pounds. I wish I would have signed up with her a long time ago. I had a partial discectomy back in October, couldn't lose the extra weight, couldn't get my back out of pain, and ended up signing up with her. My core's way better, my diet's better, my labs came back great. I would absolutely sign up with her as soon as you can. Don't take another day and think about it. They have supplements that you can use. They work with your diet. The office is great. Evelyn's amazing to work with. So I highly recommend you sign up.
Hi, my name is Sheila. I'm from Westland, Oregon, and I am 57 years old. I started with Evelyn in May of 2019 at the Simple Wellness Clinic. I was overweight and I knew I needed to do some things to make a drastic change in my lifestyle. I started the program and immediately started losing weight, which obviously made me very ecstatic. By around the 50-day mark, I had lost approximately 30 pounds and was feeling so much better. My knees didn't hurt. It was easier to go up a flight of stairs. My clothes were loose. I was feeling and looking a lot better. Even had to go down 2 sizes in my jeans. So that was very, positive at that point. The most important aspect with Evelyn as a coach was that she was there with me the entire process, available to me if I'm sitting in a restaurant and I don't know what to order or how to manipulate the situation that I'm in to not gain weight. I could text her, ask her questions, and she was always available. I never felt I had to figure it out on my own. She taught me how to eat in addition to what to eat, and how to get back on track if a couple of pounds did creep back on due to that 4-letter word called life. So Evelyn truly cares about each and every client. She's passionate about sharing her knowledge. As of May 2020, I'm down a total of 50 pounds, and I haven't felt this good since my 30s, probably. I highly encourage you to reach out to Evelyn. You won't be disappointed. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks.